Welcome everyone. Welcome to this webinar in our so-called series Webinar Wednesday. This is the first episode that we organize, and we will organize these events every month on Wednesday. And our goal here is to provide an update on the information on the solution of K3 Fashion, new developments, but also highlight some of the existing developments in the solution. And today we will present some functionality that is there for you to simplify the process of a fashion business. My name is Peter Fun. I work for K3, responsible for partnerships in Europe. And with me is Gerard Sweben. And Gerard is our lead architect, and I would say founding father of K3 Fashion, although he may not like it if I say that. He feels then a little bit old.
Yeah.
But Gerard will present some functional parts of the solution. If you go to the agenda for today, you can see that we will present how our solution simplifies the fashion process and makes life of people working with the solution as easy as it gets. Some of the parts that we will demonstrate today will be shown quickly, but it's there. We do this to give an overview for those of you who know already about K3 Fashion. The audience of this webcast is existing partners, new partners, but also interested customers and potential new customers. So the goal is to provide a good overview of some of the highlights of the solution. And today, Gerard will present the agenda and go into the solution more deeply. Part of it, and that's an important element in the solution, is the matrix. And Gerard will show how the matrix is used and how the matrix really contributes to the life of people working in a fashion company and reducing complexity around the whole process and throughout the whole process. So I will not spend too much time on the introduction, because that will reduce Gerard's presenting time. In the end, there will be an email address. You can always send your questions back to us. There is limited time, but if there is time left, we are happy to also address your questions. So Gerard, please
take it away.
Take it away.
Okay. Well, let's switch over to Dynamic itself, because like Peter said, we don't have a huge amount of time. And like he said, I will show some parts which might make life easier in Dynamics quickly. And why quickly? Because it should make your life easy, right? So if it takes me too long, it's not that easy. Okay, one part which I would like to show, and you might have seen it already, or you might have not, is the use of a matrix, right? Why do we have matrices in Dynamics, and why did we create it? In the fashion industry, you work with a lot of, especially as a wholesaler, you work with a lot of products, right? Which could have sizes, fits, colors, which will end up with a lot of variants. And in standard Dynamics, of course, that's supported, except entering orders or entering any transactional data for variants is a time-consuming thing. It's all list pages. You have to choose the correct variant. You create a line, you go to the next line, go to the next line. So we started our K3 Fashion experience with at least introducing a matrix, and we have added the matrices throughout the entire K3 Fashion solution wherever you use variants, and we added a couple of different types. Basically, we have a single item matrix, which is triggered from a single item, and we have a multi-item matrix. Well, the word says it all. You can trigger a matrix for multiple items in one go. I will show a single item matrix and go into more detail on that. And I will briefly show a multi-item matrix. The functionality within that matrix is the same, but you can use it for more than one item in one go. I will show it on a sales order, how it's being used, because well, that's the most commonly used place. But I can assure you it's also available on purchase order, transfer orders, many parts within Dynamics where you are sort of using or entering data on a variant level. So let's create a new sales order for a, well, I always say a random customer, but I know this customer, of course. I'm creating a seasonal order with a season that's already gone, right? This will open a empty sales order like you used to. Of course, we have the different sections which are unchanged, right? We do have the sales order header with some additional KSB fashion fields, of course. We do have the line section as you used to, and we do have a aggregated view. Wherever we introduce a matrix for order entry, we always include an aggregated view. Because if you know in Dynamics, if you have a long list of different lines within an order, you kind of lose track on what did you actually put in that order on item level or any other combination. So therefore, we have an aggregated view. We do have some settings on how to view that aggregated view, because by default, it will refresh automatically the moment you're going to add lines. But, and now switch to worker, on the worker, which is related to your logon, you can change the use of how this aggregated view might look. You can switch enabled, so it will automatically refresh every time you add a line. You can have a manual refresh, so it's a bit faster, but then you have to press refresh if you want to the aggregated view to be updated, or you just entirely disable the section.
Entered as an attendee in listen-only mode.
Another option you can set on the matrix or on the worker is to be able to add line by matrix by use of a button. We have two options to trigger a matrix, either to just enter an item number, which will trigger a matrix, or use a button to trigger the matrix. That means that if you normally enter an item number on the line and you don't use that button, it will not trigger the matrix. There are some advantages of using a button because it's a bit faster and it enables you to enter a single line without having to open a matrix each time. But let's go back to the sales order. As you can see, I have enabled the add line by matrix button, and if I click on it, I will have three options. Either I can use an item number, enter a style group, or enter a multiple item category. The two bottom ones will trigger a multi-item matrix, which I will show in a couple of minutes. But the top one, if I enter an item number, I can select an item number, and this will trigger a matrix. Let me just hide some stuff. This is basically how a matrix looks like. It might look a bit different than the version that you are probably currently working on, and this is because we did some minor changes on the layout and on the fonts and the look and feel of the matrix, not functional wise, but purely layout. So this will be released in our upcoming release on the 5th of November. As you can see, grayed out cells, one with locks, which are blocked, and the moment I'm going to use it, you will see the entered values in bold. So it looks a bit more sophisticated than our previous matrix. There are other sections. We do have a setup, and these are being defaulted either from the sales order category, which I'm using, where I entered, okay, I want to have a seasonal order for a specific inventory status, or from the item, which is defaulted being used or defaulted from a specific site and warehouse. Of course, I can change this on the fly during order entry. Like I said, within the matrix, you can see those little lock icons. And in the previous versions, they were just X's, which means that I cannot enter data or quantities within those specific cells because they are blocked for some reason. Within KSB Fashion, there are several reasons why a variant or an entire color or an entire product might be blocked. That could be done because of our functionality product status, or maybe because this item doesn't belong to that specific season, or the color doesn't belong to the specific season. We also have ring fencing functionality, which might block or unblock a specific variant, but all is reflected by a little lock icon or an X. If you still want to know, okay, why are different cells being blocked at this moment, you can click on the blocking details, which will give you an overview for each variant. What's the origin, or what's the reason for blocking the order entry for this specific variant? Like you see, some are because product status doesn't allow it. Some colors, like the green ones, are not covered for this season, which I defined it to 2021 spring. But it gives you more information on why can't I enter data in this specific cell. Within the matrix, we have several buttons, several options, and I will just walk through them. It might sound familiar already, but it might also not sound familiar. We have the options, and these are just about showing or hiding additional information. The purpose could be to make the working space for your matrix bigger to work on. We have a simple one, which is show colors, which will just show a color as indicated on the color code itself. We have an option to show and hide images, which will show a slider showing the product image, and in this case also the CSR certifications with their corresponding icons linked to the item or the fibers, or even if it's a purchase order on the vendor. You can see a product image. It means I will see the default product image, but the moment I click through the different colors, the image will change if the image is defined on the corresponding color level, of course. Looks cool. Let's hide it again. Because this is a seasonal order, each color could have a different drop. And the drop, we will discuss it in a future webinar, what it means, but it will be shown. Of course, you can hide it, or you can click on it the moment you want to change that drop for this specific lines. You can just select on any other available drop, which is linked to this specific season. Drops, by the way, are being used to calculate and suggest and create the suggested delivery date. Other options show description, which will show the description of the color. It takes up some space, so I can imagine if you have huge size ranges, you might want to be able to use this space to get a more screen filling matrix. And as you can see, some entire rows are blocked, and we also have the option to hide blocked columns or row. It will only hide columns and rows which are entirely blocked. So in this case, this one isn't hidden. By the way, the minuses or the minus sign means that this variant has not been released within this legal entity. So we have several options. So values where you can enter, locks or X's, which cells are blocked, and a minus sign, those variants have not been released to this specific legal entity I'm working in. A lot of other information, display value, because I'm working within, I open this, in a specific site warehouse inventory status combination, I can view inventory information for that combination. I can show physical inventory up to ring fence quantity in pre-pack. So if I click on physical inventory, it will show me between brackets all physical inventory available for this specific variant within the selected site, warehouse, and inventory status combination. Of course, I can switch over to on sales orders, and I can see the same information, but now which are on other sales orders. If I want to switch to another site and warehouse or inventory status, I can do it in two ways. Let me switch back to physical inventory because those numbers are not that big. I could either change it here in the setup, switch to another inventory status, for example. So it will refresh the data between brackets, but it will mean the moment I'm going to enter values here and I'm going to confirm this matrix, these are the settings which will be used for creating the lines. If I just want to look in other inventory dimensions, I can use this display dimension. So I can also change it in here, change it to available. It will also refresh, but it will still use my original inventory dimensions for creating the lines. Let's switch this one back. If I'm talking too fast, just type in the chat and Peter will know, and otherwise this recording will be publicly available, so you can always put it back into slow motion and listen in more details. Ratio curves, another little but convenient helper for enter quantities. Ratio curve, if set up correctly, of course, it will move in a slider which will show a ratio curve linked to each color. Ratio curves could be of different types. This one is a relative one, so that means that the moment I'm going to enter quantities, those 120 pieces will be sort of divided over the sizes within that ratio curve according to a predefined distribution. That's a relative one. Later stage, I will show you the difference with an absolute one. I can press OK. They will be transferred here, and the moment I enter data, they will be shown in bold. That will be publicly available in the next release. We do have other options, well, other tools within the matrix itself, is we can copy. I now press copy, that which means I did not define actually what I copied. I just copied my starting point. Depending on what I will paste, it will know what to copy. So if I click on another cell, I have the options to paste a line. So that means it will copy the line from the cell I started from. So it will copy an exact line. I could also go to a cell and paste the copied cell. So it will just use the content of this cell to copy there. I could do the same here, copy, go to there, and paste an entire column. So it will make a copy of this column. It's a handy tool, which you might have to get used to because, well, it works a bit different than you don't select an entire column to copy, you just select the starting point from where to copy from. Ratio curves, let me open it once more, because it could be that instead of just entering data here, you use ratio curves for selling or buying or transferring in a predefined quantity combination. From that, you can create templates. And in this case, I will just pick up a template and it will load my predefined quantities because I'm always using 100 blacks, blues, creams with those predefined ratio curves. If I press OK, everything will be transferred back to my matrix form, except of course for the cells which are blocked. If I press OK, these lines, so it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 lines will be created on the sales order in this case. But it works the same for the purchase order, transfer order, or any other order-like entity within Dynamics. Like you see, this is standard Dynamics, right? You get a lot of different lines with a lot of information. And although it works fine, you sort of lose track what you did. Before I'm going to use the lines aggregated view, I'm going to trigger one more matrix, which is the multi-item matrix. The previous one I triggered just for one item numbers, but I'm going to trigger it from a category node. This is a separate hierarchy, which you can set up within K3 Fashion, where you can define which items belong to which category node. So it's not the standard category node, or not the standard hierarchy, but it's a separate hierarchy. So if I'm going to trigger it for men's pants, it will open a multi-item matrix for me, but containing the items which I defined within that category node. So in this case, it's 1, 2, 3 different items. It still shows the same matrix with the locks and the gray, the non-released variants. In this case, because I'm showing a jeans, which is a 3-dimensional, you have the colors and the sizes here. At the top, we have the third dimension, which is the fit. So we have a 3-dimensional matrix the moment you need it. That's also with the single item matrix, but whether you get a 2 or 3-dimensional matrix depends on the item itself, of course. Of course, same here. I can open a matrix or a ratio curve again and enter a quantity from here. Oh, but let's do it like this, 2. The reason why I'm showing 2, because this curve is not a relative type curve as shown previously, but an absolute one. With a relative type, it would, or it did, distribute 120 over a predefined size range. With an absolute curve, it acts like a multiplier. So what happens? It will try to set 2 times this ratio curve. If I press OK, they will be transferred. If I press OK, they will be added to the sales order itself. And of course, all the other options we had within the other part were also available. Okay, let's look at the aggregated view, because I have set my aggregated view on my worker to automatic. So it's an automatic refresh. So the moment I'm at a line, this will be automatically refreshed. But what's the purpose of an aggregated view? Like I said, you kind of lose track on what did you add on this specific transfer order, sales order, purchase order, whatever order. You need to filter, etc. But you can see it in the aggregated view. The settings on how you aggregate could be different per person and will be saved the moment you're going to change it. In this case, I just aggregate by item number, which has an own matrix ID. So if I click on this one, so that was the first one, which actually contains 67 pieces. If I reopen it, it will reopen my matrix, in this case a single item matrix, and I can see the content. I could even, I showed you to enter quantity, go to see a date, which is linked to the entered quantities and could change the date into another date, or I can do the same with the price, even on variant level. If I press OK, and now I just changed the date, it will be updated on line level, but also in the aggregated view. I'm not sure if you noticed, but there are some pieces or some fields are set bold in the aggregated view. You can see it even better when you don't focus on the line itself, because then it will be bold and red. But if you look at the line itself, it's bold. That means that this entire item has a delivery date of the 20th of October and a price of 9. But because it's bold, means that one or more lines within those 5, 6, 7 pieces have a different price or a different date. We only show the first date and we indicate if it contains a different one. Of course, you can see which ones without having to go through each line to see, okay, which has a different price, because we have different grouping options within the aggregated view. Within the aggregated view, you can group on basically 2 parts. Other, which, well, speaks for itself. You can group on receipt date or price, or both. So let's group on price, which means it will show the same aggregation, but then on price level. So apparently we have 99 pieces with the price of 9 and 468 pieces with the price of 15. The price is not in bold anymore because all those pieces have this price. The date still is. So I can even do a further grouping because we can combine groupings. Let's group it on receipt date. Then we can see, okay, there's apparently 15 pieces with a different receipt date, and that's the one the one cell I changed previously. Of course, I can ungroup it. Dynamics will remember the last grouping option you used and will reopen the next sales order or purchase order, transfer order with the same grouping options. I can also group by my dimension, which means the storage dimensions or my product dimensions. So I can tick my color and let me see that aggregated view, but then group by color. So it will split my items for the different colors and give me totals for each color. So it's easy to use and easy to keep inside of what's actual within this specific order. I'm going fast enough. Okay, we do have some other functions, so let me remove this grouping. Come on, save setup to keep it simple. We also do have some functions to change date, dimension, discount percent, seasonal drop, or delete lines. They basically all work the same. If I select a line and then I select change dimension, for example, it will give me an overview of those lines which belong to that aggregated line and have the option to change the dimension, site, warehouse, location, or inventory status. You have to be aware that everything stays within the same matrix unless I change the dimension. So if I'm going to change this one to another inventory status and I press OK, it will select only those two lines, but those two lines will be within a new matrix. If I want to continue, yes. If I select all lines, it will stay within the same matrix. The result will be that you now have two matrix IDs, but for different inventory statuses. So if I'm going to group by dimension again, and I'm going to tick inventory status, it's being shown that these are now set to available. If I open this matrix, it will only show those two specific variants. So those 18 and what was the other one? Or did I just pick one? Maybe I'm lost, but it will split up the matrix. It can't contain the same storage dimensions within the same matrix. For the rest of the function, doesn't have influence on the matrix itself, unless of course you delete all lines. Okay, let's make it easier, and I'm gonna remove all the lines because I'm gonna slowly move over to a next topic. And that's also a part which is, well, available throughout Dynamics. Come on. I said yes, but it might be a bit busy. As you know, within standard Dynamics, you have the options to add products. And add products could be, well, in any place you can imagine, but we sort of changed the framework for the add products. We didn't change the functionality as itself, but what did we do? Next to, of course, the filtering on a retail category, we added filtering options which are fashion specific. So I could, if I'm going to add a product and I'm going to select, for example, my casual shirt, it will make my list from items to choose from smaller. I could even filter on attributes type. So these are the standard attributes which are being used within Dynamics. So if I, for example, pick, pick color type with the value button down, I will only get a list with items which have the color type button down and belong to casual shirts. If I want to select only the ones for a specific season, I can say let's filter, pick all the seasons which belong to 2020, my list gets, well, shorter. As you can see, I can also multi-select. A default only means that it will only filter the season which are set as a default season. If I don't set it like this, it will filter items which have the seasons defined as a default season or on any color level. I can even drill down further to select on brand. So let's select Awesome and Nike, and the list gets shorter, and even, well, filter down on collection, which is also a piece of functionality within Dynamics. And let's pick collection number 25. So basically, I'm now filtering on all casual shirts with a color type button down, which belong to any of those two seasons, which belong to any of those two brands and are within this collection. And I end up with just 2 items. From here, I can just select Add Variants. It will open the matrix, etc., 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 with all this functionality as you're used to. The Add Products is available everywhere throughout Dynamics. And if you're going to find one place where we didn't change it, please let me know, because then we need to add it. Let's go back to let's go to a next topic, because time is limited. Case Profession, we have introduced many different wizards because, well, next to the fact that the wizard, well, sounds like magic, it's also useful. One of the wizards we introduced is our product wizard, because in standard Dynamics, it could be time consuming to create a product, to sort of suggest the variants, release it to the proper legal entity or multiple legal entities. It's time consuming. So we created a product wizard which will do all those steps in one go, of course, based on the retail commerce hierarchy. If you set that up correctly, and we extended that hierarchy, or the commerce product hierarchy, keeps renaming, we have extended it with many of our fashion specific data. So if you set it up correctly, it will inherit the correct settings. So we're going to create a new product with or without variants, release it to one or more legal entities as we go. I press next. I'm going to create an item which is a product master. Product master means it has product dimensions. Of course, if I switch to a single product, you will lose a lot of options like size, color, fits, of course. But we can use a product master, and let's create a product. Let's create this product, and it has a product name, casual polo, and it has a description, casual polo with straight short sleeves. I'm not a typing king. With the description, I have to select a retail category, of course, because that holds many of my default data. And I'm gonna pick up a casual shirt, and the moment I pick it up, you can see all kinds of fields are being pre-filled as we go. We also have a button translation, and I will show you how it works, but in the setup I will get back to it in another webinar. But translation will try to translate, well, the product name and the description in the languages you would like. And you would like means that you just have to set up which languages you would like. You have to, well, set a link to any translation service, and you just click translate. So it will, well, create translations for all the languages I select, and after I create the item, they will be stored for each language. So let's continue and go back to the next step. Oh, I might add some more. Let's say this is 100% cotton product. Go to next. Like you see, these are all presets which have been defined on the commerce product hierarchy node, so I don't need to change it at this moment. Of course, I can overrule it if I want, but I don't need to change it if set up correctly. Next, Product dimension, this will give me an indication or an option to select which variants do I want to release. I can just select all, or I can click on a matrix and say, well, let's just select this row and select this column because I only want to release these variants, or just select all, which makes life easier. Next, the option to link an image or more images. I can do it here, just browse. And let's see if it will pick an image. For adding images, we have a way better tool, by the way, but yeah, it's uploaded there. There it is. Next, I can choose all the companies to which I want to release, to all the legal entities. And within each legal entity, I can predefine some fashion settings which I would like to need. But in this case, I'm only going to use it to the USRT with the default purchase site, inventory site, sales site, some product status, instruction group, etc. If I press next, it will state me what it's going to do. It will create this product with 30 different variants and it will release it to one legal entity. So if I press finish now, well, it probably needs some time to think, but it will release my product. Let me see if it's there. 32911 should be there. Otherwise, I have another issue. It's there. It has the default image, of course. It has a composition, which I said 100% cotton, which is an easy one. It has some predefined wash and care instructions, which if set up correctly on, of course, on the hierarchy node, it's just inherited. But as you can see, it's a wizard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, finish. So you do have a released item, you do have a global product, and if you have set it to release to multiple entities, you have them available in all other legal entities. Which brings me to the last topic which I want to show. Images. You saw me enter just or add just one image. And of course, you can either add images on the product level, on the release item level, on variant level, or like we did, add on color level. So I can add an image for the black, the blue, the brown, etc. I need to do it like this, otherwise I can't close this form. And you can view those images in a hierarchy node. So if I click on the hierarchy node, we can see on the non-released item, we have that image, but we don't have any images on each color. Of course, I can manually click and upload it, which, well, might be a time-consuming part, but we do have added some functionality which we call product document upload. And product document upload will allow you to upload documents, which might be images, which might be Excel sheets, to non-released products, to released products, or even to product color combinations in a batch, and update them if needed. For that, of course, you need some setup, and you need to store the files which are going to be used. Well, those files are stored in an Azure storage, and you have to first define product documents upload parameters for the account name and the file share, which is an Azure storage setup. Well, how to create a file share on Azure storage, we have a nice link in here, and we initialize the file type so you can allow bitmaps, PNGs, JPEGs, Excel sheets, or whatever you would like to be able to upload. So these are the parameters. We also have profiles, because profiles will determine what you're going to upload and how those files, where are they located and how should they look like, how should they be named, because, well, if you upload files, especially for images, you need to translate the image name to the right product. We have different types, but let me show you just a couple. Product master, which will well, define my file name format, that my file name should contain or should be my product number with an extension JPEG, JPEG or PNG. So that's a simple one. The one that I'm going to try to upload images in this case or other documents to release product, it also needs a company ID. And here we can see the file name delimiter. The fun starts when you want to maintain release product by color. So you need to define the company name, the product name, and the color within your file name with, in this case, a minus sign to set as delimiters. Let me show you how that looks like. So if you see here, this is a mapping to my file storage, and I put some images here which have a legal entity, a product number, an extension, and the color name: blue, brown, green, red, etc., and even some other ones. Of course, when they're processed, they will be moved to another directory, so you don't duplicate them one. Within this process, you can say, okay, I'm going to replace this file, or in case I am not able to automatically translate my file name to my product color combination, I can use a specific mapping. Release product with mapping, then you manually have to define or upload the mapping from the file name to the product company color combination. Of course, this is a one-time setup. The moment those files will be replaced, you can just run it again and replace the items. Release product by color level. Let's see what happened. I'm gonna upload it because I've moved the items there, and I think it was product number 320.911. So that's the one I just created. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I can do an upload. I can run it in batch to see what happens. So cross my fingers. So it now moves it from the Azure storage, links it as a product image to each, in this case, product color combination. Well, it looks like it gave some errors. Let's see the message details. Yeah, because it could not find the combination for these two files. We don't have, especially, well, I expect we don't have the color red and we don't have the color white. But, oh, I need to sort of close it one again, sorry. But let's go back to the item itself. Of course, we have this released product with color. We also have the log file. And if we filter on the item number we just had, so 320.911, it will give me an overview that these colors have been processed and those two gave me an error. And if I click on the info log again, it will show what the error was, but I am pretty sure that I don't have the color red or white. So I can, well, then it's impossible to get back, well, to link it to the proper color. So let's go back to the release products to see if it happens, or if it, so 320.911. So let's first look at the hard way, the product dimensions, the colors. We have those images linked to each color, and of course this is a time-consuming view. It works, but it's time-consuming. So let's do it again like this. Sorry to minimize and maximize, but I can also view it in the image hierarchy, of course, where we can see the original image attached the moment I created it. And we now see the images per color slowly pop up for each color defined. And like I said, we don't have any white, we don't have any red, so we can't link images to non-existing colors. Like I said, this is an image, but it can also be used for documents, Excel sheets. It's how you set it up. But it's an easy way, well, to make sure that images are being added in a more structured way. If I look to my, let's see what happened here. Let's refresh this one. The ones which could be processed are gone. There are two leftovers because they could not be processed. And if I look in my processed folder, well, apparently it also updated some images on other items I have said there, but those are the ones which have just been added to my newly created item. So far,
Thank you, Gerard.
ease of use.
I think that was excellent. We have seen the ease of use and the intuitive nature of K3 Fashion embedded in Dynamics 365. We have seen the use of the single multi-item matrix, the ratio curves, the aggregated view, and how to add and find products by filtering based on fashion-specific criteria. And we had a quick tutorial on how to quickly create a product. So with that, we used the 45 minutes and a little bit to present to you this important part of K3 Fashion. And with that, we also hope that we have demonstrated how this could make life easier by working in the process of a fashion company, enhancing productivity, and in general, speeding up the process and providing more control. So Gerard, thank you very much for your presentation. And I would like to thank all the attendees for their time today to listen and view our demonstration. Like we said in the beginning, we do this on a monthly basis, and you're kindly invited for the next edition. You will be invited, of course. And of course, you can also share this with your colleagues and other people you think this might be relevant to. So with that, we would like to conclude this event. You can ask any question you would like to ask to Kelly Fleming. If you go one slide back, you can find her email address on this email, and we will be happy to address and answer your questions or suggestions for next events about topics where you'd like to know more about related to K3 Fashion. So thank you for your time today, and hope to see you in the next edition of our Webinar Wednesday. Have a good day, and thank you.